life as a Vikings fan is a painful existence, and why we choose day after day to wake up and blindly follow the purple incarnation of Satan. I don't know. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. We come on this show live last Monday night, all fired up, ready to go. JJ McCarthy's hymn. This is the beginning of the JJ McCarthy. And then he just, holy cow, that was terrible. Now his ankle's in pieces, and we're going to talk about all of it in this show, ladies and gentlemen. It's not quite live, but we usually have a day or two buffer in between the show getting recorded and going to YouTube. This one's going up right after we record it. So here we go, folks. Strap in for what I'm sure is going to be long and painful to do. Will, I don't care how you're doing. My week was ruined last night. What did you think of that Vikings game?
The old Kirk Cousins adage, it's a terrible dad joke, but it actually applies very well when he would call NFL standing for not for long. And obviously he was more talking about it in terms of, your long-term prospects and whether or not, your career is long. In the Kirk Cousins case, obviously right now his career is looking very bleak at the moment. But thinking about, this whole Vikings team, you're talking about not even 7 days ago. We're recording this Monday afternoon, so we're not even 7 days removed from, the miracle at Midway, and how high we were on that win, and the NFL humbles you quick, and we'll get into it, but just so like we get this out in the open, very clear from the jump. JJ McCarthy was bad. The offensive line was bad. Run defense was bad. Miles Price was bad. There wasn't many good things about this game. The defense, did a decent enough job keeping the Falcons out of the end zone, but giving up 200 yards on the ground or whatever it ended up being to, yes, a good running attack, but that's, as Josh Metellus put it, unacceptable. Obviously the Vikings defense, of the two, main units, they played better than the offense, but they weren't great either. So I don't know, Jordan, where do you want to start? What are the main things to you that, you want to dig into as sort of, went wrong?
Well, I've discovered that if I put my head down like this, I disappear from the camera. So
It's a good trick.
I quite literally have to keep my chin up during this show, or else I will disappear. And I'm sorry, podcast audience. I know this sucks for you, but look, I'm JJ McCarthy. Just disappearing from everyone's view. Let's start with the game last night. We're going to get into JJ McCarthy getting benched. I mean, having an ankle injury here in a second. And whether or not that's true, what we believe, we'll get into all of that afterwards. But, Will, you kind of laid it all out. This wasn't it was a close, hard-fought game and we lost on a walk-off field goal. Let's analyze each side of the ball. Everything sucked last night. I can't think of a single thing that went well. Aside from Michael Penix was making his sixth NFL stout. Was that the case? A fifth? Something like that. And he also did not look great, although he does have the whole get the ball out like that. Like get it out quick. Sorry, I can't snap. He seems to have that down, but what'd he throw for? Like $150 maybe?
Yeah, the note that I made about Penix was, he wasn't great, but he did what he needed to do.
Yes.
And yes, he was aided by an incredible run game last night. And, I think you and I understand the run game is not only on the blockers and the running back. The quarterback also has to have the wherewithal to check into run plays when the opportunities present themselves. And so you actually do have to give a little bit of credit to the quarterback, if he's making changes at the line of scrimmage, et cetera.
For sure.
But what he was doing, in the past game wasn't anything to write home about. Um, he made some nice throws, and I thought Kyle Pitts played well. He he did a good job. He didn't put the ball in harm's way, and um, for the most part, Michael Penix did what a young quarterback needs to do to win a game. When the rest of your team is playing really well, he didn't screw it up.
I
So,
mean, Jalen
and,
Hurts is widely considered one of the best QBs in the league, I think now.
sure,
Rightfully so. I mean, we don't have to do that debate, but he had 109 yards yesterday or something. Like he did not
maybe
throw the
one.
ball all over the place. And there was now a clip going around of Chris Jones saying, "Y'all barely had 100 yards," and "Oh, you barely had 100 yards," and Jalen Hurts said, "We won the effing game. Shut up." And then he takes a knee and they won the game. So I'm not trying to say bad things about Penix. Like I said, it was like a sixth stout. I'm not gonna hang the guy out to dry over how he played against the Vikings in a win. I was just kind of pointing out the defense was okay against the pass, I guess. Eric Wilson looked pretty solid in that one, but ultimately, I think we just gotta. I think we gotta pick some guys and just make fun of them here. I mean, and not actually make fun of them, but you know what I mean. Just kind of talk about Ivan Pace has to be better. Seems like he was. I saw a really good tweet. Ivan Pace puts himself in position to make really good plays, and then he doesn't make the good play. And I think that really rang true last night as he shot a gap and Bijan just kind of ran around him. And, Tyler Algier just ran around him, whoever it was. And, the linebackers have to be better. No Blake Cashman. The D-line has to clog some lanes. They weren't doing that. This D-line, we were excited about him. They traded one of their best run stuffos to the Jets because they were so deep at that position. We felt so good about it. And I don't know. It just Ivan Pace has to play better. I think that's really frustrating. And I'm gonna shoot real straight here and maybe move to the offensive side of the ball because that's a little bit more fun and sexy to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
One quick thing about the defense that I think probably we're not smart enough to notice the nuances of this, but something that O'Connell mentioned in a pregame presser, it was probably from Friday or something, talking about the safety position and how important the safeties are in getting the entire defense lined up. Having Harrison Smith out again hurts. And then on top of that, having Blake Cashman out again hurts. And I mean, really, what that amounted to is you had your two defensive quarterbacks, if you will, not playing. And so, yes, this defense is still talented. And yes, this defense is still, there's really no excuses yes, even though those two guys are important and they were out, there's still plenty of talent to play well enough. And in a lot of ways, this defense, although they weren't great, they did play well enough to win the game. I think having Cashman and Harry out again really hurt them in terms of being able to get lined up properly and make those plays that they're talking about leaving on the field. That's about the extent of my analysis on, what the green dot can do and what Harrison Smith can do from a cerebral perspective. But I think those two guys being out probably hurt more than we'd like to believe.
No, I think that's 100% true. And on the offensive side of the ball, one guy who it's well documented how badly the team misses him and how dire it is that he gets back. Christian Darrisaw's got to come back. Justin School, I know. Oh, Skull. It's so close to the funny thing that we say before all the games. Isn't that neat? That guy sucks. And I'm shooting from the hip here, guys. I just got off from a long day of work after a week-long vacation. That guy sucks. That's the best way I can put it. He is absolutely just saloon dolls at left tackle. Everybody's getting in the club. JJ McCarthy's getting his head taken off. It feels like he's always under duress. And look, I'm gonna shoot straight. I'm gonna be fair. JJ McCarthy gets the same criticism that I gave to Sam Darnold, that I gave to Cousins, that I give to every QB who does this. He's holding on to the ball too long. You got to get rid of it. Some of that might be play calling. Two plays that take too long to develop. The fun thing now is that Kevin O'Connell doesn't know what a quick slant is. He doesn't know what that route concept looks like. I don't know if it's all that. I think based on Kevin's demeanor after the game, he does have some quick options in the playbook. And I think the way that Kevin O'Connell's offense is ran is every play can do everything. Every play is a Swiss Army knife. There is a deep zone beater over here. Here's your man beater over here. Oh, they're blitzing. Here's the quick thing that you can get to. Here's your check downs. Like, I think every play is designed. I think this is a pretty common thing in the NFL. Everything is designed to be useful against everything. And I think he's trusting J.J. McCarthy to say, they are blitzing. Let me do the right thing. And I don't think you can do that because he's 22 years old and he's played an hour worth of football at the NFL level. And I don't know. I know I said I wanted to pick on some guys. I'm kind of frustrated with this team's approach to the offseason now. And we should have seen it coming. Not that they should have brought in Aaron Rodgers or re-signed Danny Dimes or whatever the case is, but why didn't J.J. McCarthy play in the preseason if he is this raw? Why did you give us... I get the strategic element, but Darisaw clearly was not ready. Why, if he was not ready, was that not... why is he taking reps away from the guy who is going to play in weeks 1 and 2 and maybe 3? Who knows? Why is Justin School not getting every rep with the first team offense that he can, so that way you can maximize his ability to not be saloon dolls? Like, there's just a few things that are kind of frustrating looking back in hindsight, and I think the Vikings are paying for them now. So I don't know. And again, this is kind of just a free-for-all complain about last night's game, but do you think if J.J. McCarthy played all 3 preseason games and took some snaps, do you think that would help? Do you think he would look a little bit more polished, or do you think this is just, we got to eat some crap before the kid gets it?
I think maybe a little bit of both, but I think imagining that preseason games would solve some of these issues, I just don't think that would have been the fix. You and I both know it. The preseason games are basically, you're just running cover 2 every play. There's nothing exotic. There's like 2 blitzes a game. Like, there's nothing super. And I think right now, probably what is going wrong, if you will, or speeding up J.J. McCarthy, is the speed of the game and being able to process all this information right now. And like you're saying, holding onto the ball too long. Yeah, maybe playing in preseason would have helped a little bit, but I also just think, and this is the first thing I wrote down after watching the game, you're just going to get some games like this with let's just call him what he is, a rookie quarterback. And, I mean, heck, we've got games like this with veteran quarterbacks. Remember Buffalo in 2018? We lost to the Josh Allen Bills like 30-6. Obviously this one feels a little different because you can see the rookie quarterback things kind of popping off the screen when it doesn't go well. But I also think we're shortchanging looking at this game if we're strictly focusing on how bad the quarterback played, because it was, I mean, I'm going to steal an Aaron Gleeman comment here. Aaron Gleeman covers the Twins for The Athletic. He would call this a total system failure. This game was just like the machine broke and it just didn't work for 3 hours on Sunday night. I think there were about 5 to 7 plays in the second quarter where it kind of looked like things might be turning around offensively. There were the couple balls to Naylor. There was a ball to Thielen. Obviously, the 50-yarder to Jefferson. There were some plays in there where it looked like things might be turning around. But overall, you saw free runners of the quarterback, which that's probably a missed assignment, coupled with maybe being in the wrong protection. The forced fumble, I don't know what the heck Brian O'Neill and Aaron Jones were doing, but nobody decided to block an edge rusher with just a clear line of sight right at the quarterback. Um, Maybe that's the quarterback's fault. I have a hard time believing that that it's the quarterback's fault when there's two guys standing right there and nobody wants to block him. Um, so there's a lot of blame to go around with this. Um, but again, I think you gotta eat your crap, as you said, or take your lumps. This stuff is I think in some ways we as fans or analysts or podcasters or whatever you want to call the people who are cheering for this team or watching this team, covering this team, thinking that last fourth quarter against the Bears was just going to be the norm now. And we were just going to get, Hall of Fame level quarterback play every game. And um there's clearly some offensive issues that need to be ironed out, and it's probably not going to be solved this week. There's probably going to be growing pains there, and we'll talk about this maybe a little bit later. But the unfortunate thing about all of this is that there continues to be lack of continuity, sort of like in the offensive personnel. Obviously, Jordan Addison's out. That's a whole nother thing. But the offensive line has already had, like, what is it, Jordan? 7, 8 guys play, and we've played 2 games. Um, and Ryan Kelly has a concussion. Justin School has a concussion. So they might be back for Sunday against Cincinnati, but concussions are weird. Ryan Kelly's had a bunch of them in his career, so that could be, you're potentially looking at Michael Juergens, who's played approximately one half of NFL football, being yesterday, having him start at center, and we hope and we pray that Christian Darrisaw can play. But there's all these moving parts, and now of course we're going to be without McCarthy for Sunday. It's going to be Carson Wentz. And Aaron Jones is probably out with a hamstring, and hamstrings are buggers, and those take a long time to heal depending on the severity, and Aaron Jones is not getting any younger. So guys are dropping like flies, and we're only in week 2.
Yep.
And the continuity piece is already beginning to worry me in terms of this unit being able to turn things around quickly.
And I wonder about McCarthy, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then we can talk about, I feel like this show is going to be broken up into 3 chunks, right? There's going to be last night, the news that came out today, and then what we expect on Sunday. And so McCarthy, to me, last night, I have this anxiety that somebody, like, you're not going to go, how many QBs got drafted last year? 5? It's not going to be 5 for 5. And Caleb Williams doesn't look like he sucks. Doesn't look great, but he doesn't look like he sucks. Michael Penix doesn't look like he sucks. Obviously, the other quarterbacks are pretty good. They made the playoffs. I feel like one of them has to be really bad. I'll kind of leave it there. And J.J. McCarthy had a great fourth quarter. I tweeted last night. It was the last thing I said. I could go on a rant about some Twitter interactions last night, but I won't. I said, I don't think J.J. McCarthy's as great as we all thought he was after the Chicago game, where we were all on cloud 9 and the vibes were immaculate. We were all just feeling ourselves. I don't think he's as bad as people are treating him now, but I don't know what the answer is aside from, I'm just going to remind people the following. Jared Goff sucked his first year. He was in an NFC title game. He was the 1 seed last year. He threw, 5 touchdowns yesterday. Josh Allen sucked his first year, except against the Vikings. He had flashes of being really good, and he got with an OC that kind of turned him around and had a way with QBs, they thought. I guess you can't really say you thought, but had a way with that QB, and he whether you want to give credit to Allen or Dayball or whatever, turned into a really good quarterback, one of the best in the league. Some people say he is the best in the league right now. I'm trying to think of other examples of guys that just kind of I mean, Aaron Rodgers, his first season, not even in the NFL. He was like a 3-year vet at that point. Won like, I think 7 or 8 games, and the Packers were okay. And then like a year or two later, he won a Super Bowl for Green Bay. So I don't think we have to at some point, JJ McCarthy has to show that he's competent. Like, there's got to be steps to this, and it has to be this year. And it has to be, he showed a glimpse of something in week 1, had a really bad week 2. He's got to start having some, like, oh, he threw for 215 yards and a touchdown and a pick, or 2 touchdowns and a pick. And he has to kind of tone into Teddy Bridgewater a little bit, where it's like, hey, this is a serviceable guy. You can win some games with this guy. And by the end of the season, I would like to say that he will be, not to obviously, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow levels, but he has to be at that level where it's like, you could probably win a playoff game with this guy, right? Like, you could, if the defense is good and, he's got pieces around him. And we kind of have to get there by the end of the season. And now there's obviously a huge hurdle in place, as he's going to miss maybe a month. My theory, I'll pitch this and then we can talk about it, and I'll pass back.
Said a month.
What do you say?
Nobody said he's going to miss a month. Where do you get that?
Schefter reported it's going to be 2 to 4 weeks.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yep.
Because I was just thinking this next week. Okay.
Yep. No, Schefter said it's going to be a 2. I think O'Connell confirmed it was going to be like a 2 to 4 week injury. So he's gonna be down. My theory.
Did not say 2 to 4 weeks. I can say that with certainty.
Okay. So then,
if Schefter said it, then he's hearing from somebody.
Gotcha. My theory is,
we're not doctors.
We'll
learn more about that later.
For sure. But my theory is he's going to miss Cincinnati, and he's not playing in either of the Europe games. So strap in, folks. I think it's 3 weeks. I think he's going to come back. I don't know who we play after the Europe game. I think we have a bye week after the Europe games. So he'll come back against Philly or whoever it is that we play after the Europe games. So I don't expect to see him against Cincinnati. I don't expect to see him against Pittsburgh. And I don't expect to see him against Cleveland. I could be wrong. He could come back. I'm not trying to be any sort of way. I don't know that any of those games excite me at the prospect of him. Like, I don't think there's any shot he plays against Cincy. And then let's say he could come back against Pittsburgh. Do you want him coming back against J.J. Watt the way the O-lines look? Do you want him coming back against Myles Garrett? The problem is we're about to enter the death stretch of the schedule, so he's got to get thrown in at some point. I don't know. What are your thoughts on J.J. McCarthy long-term, I guess, and kind of...
I want J.J. McCarthy to play every possible snap he can play. I don't care if the Vikings go 4-13. Because this team's not going anywhere with Carson Wentz at quarterback. Carson Wentz might be perfectly serviceable, but they're not going to win a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. And they're not going to win a Super Bowl with Max Brosmer. The season still is about J.J. McCarthy. And if we're going to lose our marbles over a bad game where the entire team played like garbage, then we should just stop watching football. Because this thing is 17 weeks long. This guy's 22 years old, and he's played 2 games in the NFL. And if I'm sitting here today, I'm still more worried about Caleb Williams' long-term prospects than J.J. McCarthy's. Caleb Williams still doesn't look like he knows how to play quarterback. And the other thing that we were talking about off the air last week is we have all the time that Kevin O'Connell has been here, we have trusted him with quarterbacks. Look, he made Kirk Cousins I don't know if he got MVP votes, but he deserved MVP votes in 2022. He made Sam Darnold a Pro Bowler last year. Sam Darnold was washed and a bust 12 months ago. And, on this show, you and I were looking at that Sam Darnold signing, shaking our heads like, what are we doing? This is our solution. Sam Darnold went out and won us 14 games. I think for one thing, we have to have more patience. For another thing, we have to believe that Kevin O'Connell knows what he's doing with quarterbacks because he's proven it. So doesn't mean JJ McCarthy's going to be great. There's a good chance that injuries ruin this kid's career, which would really suck. He's already missed a whole year, and now he's got an ankle, and that's unfortunate. But there's a chance that the more lower leg injuries that you get, the weaker your legs get. Just ask Royce Lewis if you're a Twins fan. So injuries aside, I think we have to remember like the coaching staff. Yes, it's looked bad for 2 weeks, but the coaching staff has known what they're doing with these guys. So I still have confidence that he's going to be the solution. This season is going to probably be more bumpy than maybe we had hoped. I still think this team has every opportunity to make the postseason. I still think there's a lot out in front of this particular season. So we will learn a lot more about JJ McCarthy in the coming months and the rest of this season and all that. And I agree with you. If we're not seeing a little like more levels of consistency and all that by November, Thanksgiving, then like yeah, let's hit the panic button. But I think it's premature to be worrying about long-term prospects 2 games into a season.
I like that. No, I like that, and I fully admit on this show that I am overreactive. I am an emotional roller coaster of a fan. So I did think it was hilarious last night. You know, those people that are like, and I'm sorry if you watch this show and I'm adding you. I'm not trying to. I enjoyed the interaction that we had on Twitter, but I'm getting. Somebody commented like, I would pay. I wish I could see Kirk Cousins with this Vikings defense, and I was like, we couldn't afford this defense if Kirk Cousins was the QB, and they were like, we could trade for him right now, and I was like, I thought I'd put it to bed. I was like,
can afford Kirk Cousins right now.
We could not. He has like a $40 million cap hit. I was like, I'm pretty sure we need the cap to roll over because we're like negative $60 million next year or something. So we need some rollover, blah, 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 whatever. But because I'm, sorry for the language, kind of a douchebag, I clicked on the guy's profile. I was like, let's look and see what they tweeted last week. And it was like, JJ is him. JJ's the future. I love this guy. Kevin O'Connell's a genius. How could the league sleeping on us? And, all the, like, so emotional. So, and I'm right there with him. I'm up, I'm down, I'm whatever. But I'm going to put on the conspiracy theory hat. I'm wearing a NASCAR hat. So maybe I don't hit, there you go. There's the conspiracy theory hat. Do you think this is at all a soft benching? Because that's the belief right now, is that this is JJ's not ready. Let's give him a month to think about what he's done and rub his nose in it. And you don't think it at all?
Absolutely not. Kevin O'Connell isn't going to change his plans after 2 games. This has been their plan the entire last year. They didn't bring in another quarterback. They got Carson Wentz like 2 weeks ago. They're not going to be like, oh, new plan. We're going to give it to the guy who was sitting on his couch a month ago. Like that is just completely opposite direction of what they've been doing and saying since the draft in 2024, truthfully. They brought Sam Darnold in knowing he was a placeholder. So no, absolutely not. This is not a soft benching. Kevin O'Connell talks all the time about quarterback journeys, and he is very open and honest all the time that these are not a linear progression. They don't just get better every game. Like there's going to be some of this stuff. So
I want to challenge.
Fans are entitled. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to challenge it a little bit. I think there's something to, let's say, and this is all speculation, Darrisaw doesn't play on Sunday. Addison's still out. Ryan Kelly's probably not playing with a concussion. Maybe we let JJ ride this one out. You know what I mean? Like maybe we just, the ankle injury, maybe he could tough through it if it was a playoff game. No one said that kind of stuff. Like if it was a playoff game, he would be going this week. But maybe there is we don't need to see JJ with three backup offensive linemen and two backup O linemen, one of which has a half of experience, one of which is like Walter Rouse or whatever, whoever it is. Like we don't need to see all that because what's his name? Justin School has a concussion as well. So we just let Carlson go in, play the Bengals, let JJ take a minute. And then when JJ does come back, be it in 2 weeks against Pittsburgh, maybe it's 3 weeks against Cleveland, maybe it's after the bye. I don't know. I don't think anybody does right now. When he does come back, he will have a complete healthy O-line in theory. Jefferson and Addison out there. I mean, I'm gonna say Hawkinson out there, but that guy's a bum. I'm telling you, dude. I'm hitting the nail on the head. This was a big year for Hawkinson. I don't know that he's on the team next season. That's a discussion for another episode. Like, I think there's maybe that much smoke though, but I agree with you. I don't think I can bring myself fully to believe it that. Yeah, let's bench the 22-year-old that we need to get reps to develop. Let's bench him so he doesn't get reps. It's what Indy did with Anthony Richardson. Like
Exactly. And O'Connell's been very public in saying that, organizations fail quarterbacks before quarterbacks fail organizations. And without saying directly, he's talking about Indy. And there was a whole piece on The Athletic about this about a week or two ago. And the premise of the article was Kevin's comment, and then they delved into Indianapolis, etc. Fans are entitled to their opinions. Fans are entitled to Overreaction Monday. It's literally a thing because of this. Pat McAfee has built an entire segment off of this because people overreact on Mondays, good or bad. We did it last week. So I think what you're saying in terms of they want to give him at least this week off, with the beat up O line and all that. I think that has a lot of credence if he is hurt, which I do believe he is. I mean, if you go back and watch the tackle, he is reason to believe that he got hurt on that play. But I'd be shocked if they just gave him this game off if he was fully healthy. There's no way he'd be on board with that. Like not that there'd be like a players union grievance against it because players are allowed to be benched based on performance, but if he was benched saying he was injured and when in fact he was totally healthy, he would not be a fan with that. So
sorry, I just coughed right in the mic.
I think you muted it well. One thing I will say, and we're not going to really dive into Cincinnati here, but if Darrisaw is not back, I don't care who's playing quarterback, me, you, Brosmer, my cousin, my Carson Wentz, it doesn't matter. If Darrisaw is not back, Trey Hendrickson's going to have a field day.
Oh, 1,000%.
That's just going to be frightening.
I think and again, without diving too deep into the Cincinnati thing, which I think will give predictions. I know we have to get out of here shortly, but I think regardless of if Darrisaw plays, I just have a bad feeling. Maybe it's because I watched the backup bowl a couple years ago against Cincinnati where it was Mullins versus Browning. Now it's Wentz versus Browning. I'm going to pick the Bengals in this one. This is going to be the start of a long stretch of picking against the Vikings for me. And maybe, who knows, maybe, it all, like I said, I'm overreaction. I'm a roller coaster of emotions. So I'll go Bengals 20. I'll go Bengals 31, Vikings 20. And I will say that the Vikings lose this one somewhat. I mean, by two possessions. And it's just one of the...
Convincing.
Yeah, two possessions and the Vikings kind of... I don't know, it just, again... It's Overreaction Monday, and I'm doing a pick for a game in 6 days. It just kind of doesn't look good right now. And I don't know that Carson Wentz is necessarily the answer to come in and fix all of these problems. And I don't know that Darrisaw's playing. And if Darrisaw doesn't play, we have to have a real discussion about, why the hell didn't this guy start the season on short-term IR then? And why the hell wasn't something done to address the left tackle position? And why, there's just, again, there's a lot of offseason decisions I think we can talk about. So that'll be my final thoughts. I think I have game balls. So if somebody has to win one, I think I have offense this week.
Yep.
We'll go Carlson Wentz. If we win the game, it's because he balls out. Right? I mean, that's my theory for game balls is overcoming a loss or
Yeah.
whatever. So I'll go Carlson Wentz for that. So follow the show at LTB Vikings. Follow Will at Will Bad Lose. Will, you have like 5 minutes to do whatever you want.
Sweet. My prediction isn't too dissimilar. I got Bengals 19-16. It's the backup bowl. The Vikings have a really good defense. I think this defense compared to 2023's defense with a Caleb Evans and Mekhi Blackman trying to check T. Higgins, this will be different. And Jake Browning is kind of Nick Mullins like. He's going to sling it, and he's probably going to look pretty good half the time, pretty bad the other half the time. So if the Vikings win, Byron Murphy is a guy who's kind of in my doghouse right now. The defense has played fine for the weeks here, but he's already had 2 or 3 penalties, illegal contacts, and just kind of nonsense that you don't need from your number one corner. And he's a guy that I think needs to make a play. They got to get himself going again. And I think if the Vikings win, he'll have an interception and he'll have a game ball. Yeah, this team's kind of in flux right now, Jordan. Lots of injuries, uncertainty about quarterback health, quarterback success, all that. Lots of moving parts. Not the type of season start that we would have liked to have, but injuries don't work like this. But sort of the knock on wood comment would be maybe they're getting their injuries out of the way, which I don't think it works like that, because if you get injured in September, you're probably more likely to get injured in December too. But yeah, more adversity than I think we would have hoped this early in the season.
I want to jump in really quick. It's been 2 weeks. I've seen enough. I'm amending my preseason pick. No Vikings Super Bowl. No, I'll keep the Ravens. They've looked fine. I'm gonna put the shocking. I think I'm putting the Niners in the Super Bowl. I think I Christian McCaffrey seems healthy.
Jones
all the way back. All the way. Well, that's the thing. They got 2 quarterbacks. I hate that if you got 2 QBs, you don't got one. No, you can just have 2 ones that you like and that can run your system. So
helpful. Speaking of playoff predictions, these will be my final thoughts. A couple weeks ago, we did our predictions, and I got so excited when Jordan was talking about the Panthers that I forgot that I did not have them in the playoffs, and then I decided on the show, like, oh, they'll make the playoffs too. If you go back and listen to it, you'll notice that I had 8 teams in the NFC playoffs. It doesn't work like that. So rest assured, the Panthers are not making the playoffs. That was... And Jordan has the text receipts. I did all this before the season kicked off. Cardinals are still in. Panthers are not. So amending that. Yeah. So we're off and rolling, just like the Vikings. We'll be back next week to recap Cincinnati. Yeah, last week was bad, but Jordan. But as they say, on to Cincinnati. Skol, y'all.